Istanbul, Turkey. Istanbul is the largest city in Turkey and the country's economic, cultural and historic center. The city straddles the Bosphorus Strait, and lies in both Europe and Asia, with a population of over 15 million residents, comprising 19% of the population of Turkey. Istanbul has a timeless charm that owes much to its rich history. The city was historically referred to as Byzantium and Constantinople. It served as a focal point of several ancient empires. Numerous architectural wonders. Istanbul's historical hub, the Sultanahmet Square, puts you right in the center of the city's most prominent and historical attractions. The Hagia Sophia, a famous 6th-century mosque that is now a museum, and the namesake Sultanahmet Mosque, which is also fondly referred to as the Blue Mosque. The Hagia Sophia, whose name translates to Holy Wisdom, was built by the East Roman Empire in the 6th century. It was then converted into a mosque and fortified following Mehmed the Conqueror's rule in 1453. You can admire this architectural wonder's marbled structure, as well as its dreamy interiors. It features calligraphic panels and bronze lamps, and most of its walls are covered in beautiful mosaics made of gold, silver, and colorful stones. The city straddles the Bosphorus Strait, and lies in both Europe and Asia, with a population of over 15 million residents, comprising 19% of the population of Turkey. Istanbul is the most populous city in Europe, and the world's 15th largest city. Founded as Byzantium by Megarian colonists in 657 BCE, and renamed by Constantine the Great first as New Rome, Nova Roma, during the official dedication of the city as the new Roman capital in 330 CE, which he soon afterwards changed as Constantinople, Constantinopolis, the city grew in size and influence, becoming a beacon of the Silk Road and one of the most important cities in history. It served as an imperial capital for almost 16 centuries, during the Roman/Byzantine, 330 to 1204, Latin, 1204 to 1261, Byzantine, 1261 to 1453, and Ottoman, 1453 to 1922, empires. It was instrumental in the advancement of Christianity during Roman and Byzantine times, before its transformation to an Islamic stronghold following the fall of Constantinople in 1453 CE. In 1923, after the Turkish War of Independence, Ankara replaced the city as the capital of the newly formed Republic of Turkey. In 1930, the city's name was officially changed to Istanbul, an appellation Greek speakers used since the 11th century to colloquially refer to the city. Over 45.1 million foreign visitors came to Istanbul in 2019, 9 years after it was named a European Capital of Culture, making the city the world's 5th most popular tourist destination. Istanbul is home to several UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and hosts the headquarters of numerous Turkish companies, accounting for more than 30% of the country's economy. The number of international tourist arrivals decreased sharply in 2020, due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, pandemic, reaching around 12.7 million. Due to the impact of the health crisis on international travel, the number of arrivals dropped across all major inbound travel markets in Turkey. Overall, travelers from Russia, Bulgaria, and Germany accounted for the highest number of inbound arrivals in 2020. Neolithic artifacts, uncovered by archaeologists at the beginning of the 21st century, indicate that Istanbul's historic peninsula was settled as far back as the 6th millennium BCE. That early settlement, important in the spread of the Neolithic revolution from the Near East to Europe, lasted for almost a millennium before being inundated by rising water levels. The first human settlement on the Asian side, the Fikir Tepe Mound, is from the Copper Age period, with artifacts dating from 5500 to 3500 BCE. On the European side, near the point of the peninsula, Sarayburnyu, there was a Thracian settlement during the early 1st millennium BCE. Modern authors have linked it to the Thracian toponym Lygos. mentioned by Pliny the Elder as an earlier name for the site of Byzantium. Neolithic period is the final division of the Stone Age, with a wide-ranging set of developments that appear to have arisen independently in several parts of the world. It is first seen about 12,000 years ago when the first developments of farming appeared in the Epipaleolithic Near East, and later in other parts of the world. The Neolithic lasted, in that part of the world, until the transitional period of the Chalcolithic from about 6,500 years ago, 4500 BCE, marked by the development of metallurgy, leading up to the Bronze Age and Iron Age. The history of the city proper begins around 660 BCE, when Greek settlers from Megara established Byzantium on the European side of the Bosphorus. The settlers built an acropolis adjacent to the Golden Horn on the site of the early Thracian settlements, fueling the nascent city's economy. The city experienced a brief period of Persian rule at the turn of the 5th century BCE, but the Greeks recaptured it during the Greco-Persian Wars. Byzantium then continued as part of the Athenian League and its successor, the Second Athenian League. Before gaining independence in 355 BCE, long allied with the Romans, Byzantium officially became a part of the Roman Empire in 73 CE. Byzantium's decision to side with the Roman usurper Pescennius Niger against Emperor Septimius Severus cost it dearly by the time it surrendered at the end of 195 CE. 2 years of siege had left the city devastated. 5 years later, Severus began to rebuild Byzantium, and the city regained, and, by some accounts, surpassed its previous prosperity. Rise and fall of Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire. Constantine the Great effectively became the emperor of the whole of the Roman Empire in September 324. 2 months later, he laid out the plans for a new, Christian city to replace Byzantium. As the eastern capital of the empire, the city was named Nova Roma, most called it Constantinople, a name that persisted into the 20th century. On 11th of May 330, Constantinople was proclaimed the capital of the Roman Empire, which was later permanently divided between the two sons of Theodosius I upon his death on 17th of January 395, when the city became the capital of the Eastern Roman, Byzantine, Empire. The establishment of Constantinople was one of Constantine's most lasting accomplishments, shifting Roman power eastward as the city became a center of Greek culture and Christianity. Numerous churches were built across the city, including Hagia Sophia, which was built during the reign of Justinian the Great and remained the world's largest cathedral for 1,000 years. Constantine also undertook a major renovation and expansion of the Hippodrome of Constantinople, accommodating tens of thousands of spectators. The Hippodrome became central to civic life and, in the 5th and 6th centuries, the center of episodes of unrest, including the Nika riots. Constantinople's location also ensured its existence would stand the test of time. For many centuries, its walls and seafront protected Europe against invaders from the east and the advance of Islam. During most of the Middle Ages, the latter part of the Byzantine era, Constantinople was the largest and wealthiest city on the European continent and at times. The Nika riots revolt took place against Emperor Justinian I in Constantinople over the course of a week in 532 AD. They were the most violent riots in the city's history, with nearly half of Constantinople being burned or destroyed and tens of thousands of people killed. Constantinople began to decline continuously after the end of the reign of Basil II in 1025. The Fourth Crusade was diverted from its purpose in 1204, and the city was sacked and pillaged by the Crusaders. They established the Latin Empire in place of the Orthodox Byzantine Empire. Hagia Sophia was converted to a Catholic church in 1204. The Byzantine Empire was restored, albeit weakened, in 1261. Constantinople's churches, defenses, and basic services were in disrepair. 58, and its population had dwindled to 100,000 from 500,000 during the 8th century. After the reconquest of 1261, however, Some of the city's monuments were restored, and some, like the two Desis mosaics in Hagia Sophia and Karayi, were created. Hagia Sophia, or Holy Hagia Sophia Grand Mosque, is a late antique place of worship in Istanbul, designed by the Greek geometers Isidore of Miletus and Anthemius of Tralles. Built in 537 as the Patriarchal Cathedral of the imperial capital of Constantinople, it was the largest Christian church of the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, and the Eastern Orthodox Church, except during the Latin Empire from 1204 to 1261, when it became the city's Latin Catholic cathedral. In 1453, after the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire, it was converted into a mosque. In 1935, the secular Turkish Republic established it as a museum. In 2020, it reopened as a mosque. Built by the Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian I as the Christian Cathedral of Constantinople for the State Church of the Roman Empire between 532 and 537, the church was then the world's largest interior space and among the first to employ a fully pendentive dome. It is considered the epitome of Byzantine architecture and is said to have changed the history of architecture. The present Justinianic building was the third church of the same name to occupy the site, as the prior one had been destroyed in the Nika riots. As the episcopal see of the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, it remained the world's largest cathedral for nearly 1,000 years, until Seville Cathedral was completed in 1520. Beginning with subsequent Byzantine architecture, Hagia Sophia became the paradigmatic Orthodox Church form, and its architectural style was emulated by Ottoman mosques 1,000 years later. It has been described as holding a unique position in the Christian world and as an architectural and cultural icon of Byzantine and Eastern Orthodox civilization. The church was dedicated to the Holy Wisdom, the Logos, the second person of the Trinity. Its patronal feast falls on 25th of December, Christmas, the commemoration of the incarnation of the Logos in Christ. Sophia is the Latin transliteration of the Greek word for wisdom, and, although it is sometimes referred to as Sancta Sophia, Saint Sophia, it is not related to Sophia the martyr. The center of the Eastern Orthodox Church for nearly 1,000 years, it was where the excommunication of Patriarch Michael Cerularius was officially delivered by Humbert of Silva Conjada, the envoy of Pope Leo IX in 1054, an act that is commonly considered the start of the East-West Schism. In 1204, it was converted by the Fourth Crusaders to a Latin Catholic cathedral under the Latin Empire, before being restored to the Eastern Orthodox Church upon the return of the Byzantine Empire in 1261. The Doge of Venice who led the Fourth Crusade and the 1204 sack of Constantinople, Enrico Dandolo, was buried in the church.